Working on my playlist for morning momentum. Get the day started correctly. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. So as we move into this week, we've been just having lots of conversations with top agents, with the region, with other people outside of the industry. And one of the common themes that I've been hearing a lot is we've just been having to have a lot of hard conversations right now. And it's a skill to have that conversation with our clients up front, whether it's our listings or our buyers, setting those expectations up front. And that's an art there, that what are the conversations that we're having and how are we guiding them through? Because right now it is a difficult market, especially when you have to have those conversations and set those expectations. So what I did, go here, is I got this book, Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott, and it has 7 different key conversations that you have. So the first one is master the conversation with yourself. And it just goes back to the mindset of, if you can't turn on the switch right there with yourself, that inner voice, the voice that you're telling yourself, the conversation that you're telling yourself, then you're not going to be able to master conversations with anyone else. So first, it starts with, what conversations are you having with yourself every day? When you start the morning, when you get up in the morning, what's the first things that you are saying to you? Because I truly believe what you speak is what is going to be put out into the world, and that's what you are wanting to make. So in Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott, the very first foundation is master the conversations with yourself. Before you can have conversations with anyone else, what are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, oh, I'm not going to be able to meet my lead gen today. I'm not going to be able to make those phone calls. I'm not going to be able to do all these things. I can't do this. I can't do that. Or I say can't, could never do anything. So are you telling yourself that in the morning? So you're switching your brain to negative and you're telling your brain, no, I can't do that. And when you tell yourself that, then guess what? You're not going to be able to do it. So every listing appointment, every buyer consultation, every recruiting appointment, every lead generation first is one with the conversation that you have with yourself. The conversations that you have with your mind, even before you open your mouth. So what are you telling yourself? What are the conversations that you're telling yourself? And it's the longest conversations, right? I'm constantly having conversations with myself. So let's think about what happens before you even start lead generation or before you even start a conversation. You pull your database, you see the name, you see the task that it says to do, and before you even pick up the phone and start dialing, you probably say to yourself, they're probably not going to pick up, or they probably don't want to hear from me. Oh, I'm probably going to bother them. They're probably at work. They probably are not ready to buy or sell right now. Does that sound familiar? Or mine is, I hope it goes to voicemail. Don't pick up, don't pick up, don't pick up. Are those the conversations that we're having before we have the hard conversations or the conversations before starting the day? So those assumptions are dangerous because our brain treats them like reality. When we're saying, don't pick up, or I'm probably bothering them, or I'm probably going to sound salesy, or they probably don't have any business for me, or they don't want to hear from me, you're telling yourself, those are the truths that you're telling yourself. And that's what you're believing. Because the story that we tell ourselves is the way that we show up. So how are you showing up? If you're showing up already thinking that you lost, then you lost. So imagine if you switched that conversation before and said something instead of saying, "Oh, I'm probably interrupting them," or and then when you call the phone and they actually pick up, you're like, I'm sorry, I'm probably bothering you. Sorry to bother you." And you're just apologizing right away. You don't sound confident. You don't sound like you know what you're talking about. You're hesitant. You feel rushed. You're trying to stick to the script. You have all these things going on. But then what if you switched it and you had that conversation with yourself and you thought, my job is to help people make really great real estate decisions. If they don't need me today, that's okay. They will, if they do, I'm going to be the one that they think of. What if we had that conversation with ourselves before picking up the phone? And you make that phone call, and it's a completely different energy, it's a completely different vibe. You have that confidence, and confidence isn't about personality. You know, our personalities can only take us so far. It's about the conversations that you're having with yourself. So here's another example. Let's say you lose a listing. One internal conversation sounds like, "Oh, I'm terrible at listing appointments. I always lose the good ones. I knew that house is going to sell really fast and I lost it. I'm not good enough." Instead, let's say this to ourselves and let's have these internal conversations. I lost this one. Why did I lose this one? What's one thing that I can learn to make myself better for the next one? Well, I'm going to keep watching this one, this listing, because if something happens, I want to be that second agent. How can I improve for the next appointment? Same outcome, same phone calls, just a different mindset. So completely different future. One creates fear and one creates growth. How can we grow from those conversations? It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to lose out on a buyer or a seller. Just what are you going to learn from that and how are you going to move on? How are you going to pick yourself up and move on to the next one? Don't just stay there in the valley of despair. So another one that I hear when we always talk about not being the secret agent, putting yourself out there. And that's something that I struggled with. I'm like, oh, no one cares what I have to say. No one wants to hear what I have to say. Everyone's going to think that I'm salesy or pushy or that I'm going to sound like an MLM. Like, no one wants to hear any of that. And that's what I was telling myself. So a lot of times I didn't do the things that I needed to do. But then when I started thinking about, I actually have something worth value that can actually help people build generational wealth through real estate. And when I got that big why and made that emotional connection, it switched my mindset. So now my conversations are, okay, I'm going to make these many phone calls. I'm going to have this many appointments. I'm going to get this many contracts in. And it's a switch. It's a switch. If you did any brain studies, there's so many out there, and I love studying the brain, that they did two different studies of a MRI of one playing the piano in person and different parts of your brain light up. And then they had other people just imagine themselves playing the piano. And guess what? It was the same exact areas of the brain that lit up. So if you're imagining bad fear conversations and telling yourself all these things versus you actually doing them, it's the same parts of your brain lighting up. So if you're telling yourself that I'm going to get this, I'm going to have the best conversation, I'm going to just catch up with them and see how they're doing, see how I can come from contribution, how can I help them, how can I just be that person when they think of real estate, I'm going to be that person, and then move on. When you are having those conversations with yourself, it's going to light up those parts of your brain and already have those conversations like you already had them. So I joke around and I always pretend like in, in high school when you had debate class and you would like, practice in the mirror. I'd practice in the mirror my conversations with negotiations or anything that's happening. Because when I'm practicing, it's lighting up those same parts of my brain. And it's like exercising them. So then when those conversations, those fierce conversations come up, my brain already knows what to do. And then my mouth just has to follow. Sometimes it doesn't. So most of our barriers in business are not external, they're internal. The market isn't stopping us. Our mindset and our internal conversations are stopping us. So what story are we telling ourselves? What story are we narrating to ourselves? What story are we living out? So whenever I feel discouraged, whenever you're afraid, whenever you feel like procrastinating, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? Is it real? Is it true? What evidence do I have that it's actually true? Most of the time you realize you've been making decisions based on a story, not reality. As leaders of your own business, we have to become aware of those stories because they influence every conversation that we have. Oh, I'm not going to write that repair amendment and ask for all these things because I know the seller is they're not going to agree to any of this. And then you write that repair amendment and you submit it because that's what your client wanted to do. Instead of the stories like, I'm going to ask for these things and we're going to negotiate the things that are important to my buyer. But it doesn't hurt to ask. The word no is acceptable. It's okay. It's going to be okay. All is well. And that creates confidence. And when you create that confidence, the people around you are going to feel that confidence, and you're going to have a better and easier time having those fierce conversations. So master the conversations that you're having with yourself. And then once you master those conversations, you can master those hard conversations with your clients and the people around you. So our action item for today is think of one hard conversation that you've been avoiding, or one thing that what's the story that you're telling yourself that isn't true, and rewrite that story. So before you pick up the phone and lead gen, before your listing appointments, change your story. Instead of saying, oh, I'm not experienced enough, I don't know enough, I haven't gotten the systems down enough, now say, I help people make the biggest financial decisions of their life. I get to be a part of that. I have the privilege of helping people meet their financial goals through real estate. I'm coming from contribution. I have value, and what I have, people need. Start your day with that, and then pick up the phone and help people do the things that you said you're going to have them do. So the quality of your conversation with others will never exceed the quality of the conversations that you have with yourself. It starts internally. So before your business changes, change the voice in your head. And that's going to create momentum. And we know that momentum changes everything. All right. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Have great, fierce conversations and go build your business. Have a great day. Bye.